Record. Okay, we're recording. Hey, everybody. Thank you so much again for attending our discussion today. This is going to be very loose, but basically what happened is last month, and actually a printing company called Graph Tech contacted me, and they wanted to actually run this conversation in regard to who are printers now. Are you printers? Are you marketing people? Do printers have to be both? As in the world of Corona, how do we talk about print now that touch is not something that we can really highlight freely as something that doesn't scare people, as our differentiator of what makes us different than digital media? And all of this, of course, came about because the world has changed. And print is not something that you can currently talk about in the sense of touch and feel and keepsake and what you do for a living. Then how do we define who we are? How do we define our services? How do we speak about them in a way that might need to change than a way that you've been speaking about them since January? So in this section, what we're going to do is I'm just going to flip through a couple of questions to put out there, and then I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and then we're going to have an open discussion about it. So in this section, we want to talk about who are you? What do you do? Who do you help? And how do you help them? All of that framed within the fact that we are currently in the middle of a pandemic. So with that being said, I've turned off my screen share and are just looking for open conversations. Anybody want to start? Kelly, how you've been speaking to a lot of printers, obviously, doing a lot of calls. Are you coming across situations where maybe you're offering some more marketing advice as far as them going out and pitching ideas, and printers may be saying to you, I'm not a marketer, I'm a printer?
Yeah. Well, look, I think this is a long time coming, this discussion, you know, back from when, what would it have been, the early 2000s, when that whole idea of being a marketing services provider concept came out. And there was I think a tremendous amount of skepticism, and there were definitely those that got on board with that and kind of embraced it, and others that were like, I'm not comfortable with that. I don't really know what that means. So what I'm about to say might sound somewhat semantic, but I think it has to do with our being self-referential. When you say the word printer, a lot of people think about that thing that's sitting on their desk that puts out black and white paper, right? And so saying I'm a printer is like, that just, again,
I'm a car. I'm a boat.
very, exactly. And,
Right.
and so, and just along that same line, referring to what we produce as printing may not be the most easy to understand concept on the part of the person who's hearing what you're saying. And that's what's important about this discussion about identity, is we need to be talking as if we understand who the audience is and what it means to them. I just had this conversation with a printing company down in South Carolina. What the hell is web to print? Like, do you think that a person who's never heard that phrase before is immediately going to connect with that? But Lisa Brooks, who's on this call right now, ingenious, and I'm sure she wasn't the first person to say this, but I'm giving her credit for it. I tell my customers it's a collateral management system. Great. Now I understand what that means, because what does web to print mean? Lisa, what do you mean?
I mean, I would just probably call it online purchasing.
Exactly. And even saying something like, if you can order a book on Amazon, you can order online printing. Like, I want to make it easy on people to understand. So when we say we are a part of the marketing process, right? We produce marketing, you know, the tools that help people sell more stuff. You you yourself have to decide how you want to refer to it and what it means. But when a lot of people hear the word printing, oh, I don't need business cards. That's not what I'm talking about.
Right.
You know, I don't need this. That's not what I'm talking about. So let's open this up a bit.
Yeah, let's you know, and let's give it a little more context around this particular moment in time where, you know, saying to somebody, I print things, and then them associating it with touching it is also might be an issue. Aleka or Matthew Parker, anybody? Matthew Parker? Go ahead.
So let's bring it round to coronavirus, and a lot of printers are doing lots of things to help new clients who never knew that they needed print and still don't know they need print. Some of them need PPE, some of them need help reaching their customers in new ways and telling customers what they're doing. Some need to direct their customers to do new things. Print helps with all of that. They don't need a printer, they just need someone to help with those issues. And if we go along saying, hey, I'm a printer, I think Kelly's point was great. Everyone goes, okay, so you're a box on a desk, why would I want you? Right. But if you go along and let's forget about who we are and what we do. Does it matter if we're a printer, a marketing services provider, a John Ball printing set, whatever it is, doesn't matter. Let's go along and be in the customer's shoes and go, this is your problem, this is how we help. Doesn't really matter how we class ourselves. What matters is the results that we get for our prospects and our customers.
Well, I would have to argue a little with you on that, which is not
you
unusual, since Matthew and I literally have a podcast where we fight with each other. But this does need to be defined. We're talking about people searching on websites. If they go to a website and they're not going to understand we provide business results. I mean, they're probably
Sure,
on a printer's website looking for print. I'm just saying that the identity crisis isn't just what you say to somebody in front of them. It expands to the way you're describing what you do, the way your social media, the way a video might come out. So you know, it's really bigger than you know what you're saying.
But people aren't searching for a
next.
company. People aren't searching for a company, they're searching for a solution. So we sell the solution. We don't have to say who we are. Instead, our social media, our SEO, our PPC, everything that we do should be based around the fact that we provide PPE, or we help home delivery companies with packaging, or we increase customs, we reach out and do door drop deliveries. It doesn't really matter what company we are, but we do need to create the search around the solution instead. So I totally get you can't just go, it doesn't matter who we are, but I don't think it does. The results we get and what we provide are what matters.
Okay, well, we'll come back to that. Let's, Aleka.
Okay, I think today you need to.
Oh, did we lose Aleka? Is it just me?
Is it me?
I think it was you. You're back.
Okay, I think you need to. You can't just say you're a printer because that's your commodity. I can't even say that word. Commodifying, commodity. You're not a commodity.
Commoditizing, yeah.
Especially in today's day and age, I like to say that I'm a print solutions provider, because what Kelly's going to need and what Matthew's going to need and what Deborah's going to need is probably going to be different. And I adapt to help you all in your specific need, and thus I take on the role as a consultative, an educator, rather than a hardcore just selling everything. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it totally does. Ralph,
I absolutely
anybody?
agree with that.
Lisa, go ahead.
100% I agree with Aleka. You need to look at yourself as a service provider, a solutions provider, especially in this day and age, getting away from the commodity side where you're going to lose a job for $5 or $10 or $20. That's not what you want. You need to be able to show value. You need to be able to show your clients that you're giving them ideas, that you're sharing with them solutions to the problems, that they don't have to think about it. They're relying upon you to do that.
You're their resource.
Exactly.
So this came up in the conversation I was having with the Graph Tech in the beginning, which was if you were to start a printing company today, would you put print in the name? So, but that goes back to the identity crisis. We are in the printing industry, but we don't want to put print in the name of our business. I'm just saying that it is something that is a problem right now, and not really. I mean, it is a problem, but this is actually the moment to rebrand or re-strategize or redo anything before we really emerge fully from this. If you need to get some of this stuff in order and change language on your website and change the way that you're messaging and speaking, and even your elevator pitch might need to be adjusted now that you know, everything is not as the same as it was. Ralph, anything? You're on video, so I'm just going to call on you.
Thanks, Deborah. Well, it's interesting. The elevator speech isn't even an option right now because we can't get in the elevator.
Right, true.
So what I have, been doing more of is videos, of actually producing a video. Whether that means, and it's usually a solution-based thing that I can then email it to the customer because the customer's at home. But they seem to be receptive of that so far. And it's an angle that, we haven't done in the past, but it's what we have to do right now.
But that's fantastic. Have you had to rethink how you are speaking to the customers about print? Are you offering or tying it more into a multi-channel campaign where you can offer more of those services, or are you focusing on what was the same things you were focusing on in January?
I would say it depends on where the target is. For some people that I was hoping to get in for a tour, it's sharing a tour video, being able to see the equipment, talk about what it can do, how it can benefit them. Or, if it's more interactive direct mail, I again have a different video for that to show them, here's some ideas that maybe you haven't seen anywhere. Trish does a great job of it. I think JLS has some nice solutions that way too, and it's fun to be able to share them because there is no other way right now, really. Yeah.
No, I agree totally. Anybody else want to comment on that? Sherry, we're talking about who are you? What do you do? How do you help people? And if you were starting a business today, would you put print in the name if it was a print shop? I don't know if you want to comment on that before we move on to the next thing. And by the way, everyone feel free to turn your video on at any point now. We're just going to have open discussions.
Sherry actually asked a question, I think it was on Girls Who Print earlier this week, about how you refer to what you put the ink on, whether it's substrate or paper. And just as I'm sitting here thinking about this, I think if I were to start a printing shop today, just the way my marketing brain works, is I would say your message everywhere. Because you want to put your message on a wall, a floor, a piece of glass, a piece of paper, your message,
the internet
helps people, because again, I think we have to try to make our words, again, make it as easy for people to understand it as possible. What are you talking about? I'm talking about everywhere, ink on everything, and even ink isn't always accurate. It's not always ink, right?
I know I keep reiterating this, but that's because after this, webinar, I hope everybody goes to their website and looks and sees how you're describing things and how many times it says, touch it, hold it, smell it, whatever, things that currently people do not want to do. So you might actually be hindering your ability to attract or work with some people because you have that language on it, and a slight adjustment in that might get somebody to do something with you. I know that might be a little bit of a stretch, but especially when people get the specialty finishing, they love to focus on touching it. Not a great idea right now. I mean, am I crazy? Is that it? I don't want to touch anything. Does anyone else want to touch anything?
I don't know if this is, so go ahead, Sherry.
Sorry, even the mail, even the stuff that comes in the mail, you don't want to touch.
I'm not a paranoid person, okay? What I'm saying is that I'm not going to have a love affair with the print like I used to have. I used to see something like from a Skodex or from an MGI or something like that, and I'd pick it up and I would smell it and I would rub it and I would like hold it up to the light and take pictures of it and pray to the digital enhancement gods for the beautiful thing I have in front of me in all of its glory. And now I'm not going to do that. I'm just telling you, it's not going to, not that I have a chance because I can't go to a print show.
I was just going to say, we don't even have the opportunity to now.
But I'm just saying that we have spent a lot of industry branding time for years and years and years as making tangible the differentiation between printed media and digital media. And I'm just saying that right now, I'm not so sure that that's the platform to, plant your stake in on, as opposed to what Matthew said before, which is business results. Christine Erna, any comments? Christine Erna, can you hear us? Nope, she's gone. Okay, Sherry, did you want to talk? And then I interrupted you.
Are you muted, Christine? We can't hear you.
I can't hear Christine.
Her lips are moving.
Sherry, did you want to say something and I cut you off? Christine Erna, we still can't hear you. We'll figure that out. Sherry?
No, I think that, I asked the question about mail because I got something from another printer in the mail and I sent him a picture of it today and I was like, hey, I got your thing. And like, I love the hand of it. Like I immediately, I saw it. I saw that it had a texture. I picked it up. I didn't sniff it. I'm not gonna lie. I did not mask up. I didn't, but I did take it in my hand and kind of rub it. And then I did sanitize my hands afterwards because I was like, I don't know where this has been. Right.
Okay.
I did, but I did still touch it. It still had.
I understand that. Prior to Corona, would you have sniffed it?
Yeah, 1,000,000%.
Okay. So all I'm saying is if it's changing our behavior.
Yeah, for sure.
There might be something to this if we're talking to people about, save it as a keepsake when we're in a world of one and done right now. I'm just, it's an interesting conversation. Christine Erna, did we get you back? Test. Okay, we'll say none of that.
Speaking of touching though, I don't know if this was the right time to bring this up, but I do want to just put a little bit in for promo because I feel like, again, in this world of, events not happening and stuff, if you already don't have a pipeline for being able to produce promo. I just had a guy today tell me that he's closed 3 new accounts by starting with saying, look at this cool wine tumbler. And the wine tumbler was the first thing that they bought. And then it was more and more and more. And then it was, now I'm doing direct mail for them. So right. I know a lot of people, got into promo for some reason, but if you haven't yet, it might be something to consider. So.
No, that's a great point. And I love Ralph's video samples. Kelly, we've been saying this for a while, to create a video sample kit, send it electronically to people, and then let them request samples from you. That is their agreement to touch your stuff, as opposed of sending it to them and forcing them or having them throw it out, which is just a waste of money for people. Okay, Kira, did you want to comment? You want to unmute yourself and join the conversation? Thanks.
Sure. I am fairly new to more the print side of sales and marketing. This is actually my second week.
Welcome to the fun.
Print sales. I've done the marketing side, but I've definitely personally, as I've been kind of going out there trying to figure out how to communicate print, that the whole how do I identify myself, because a lot of you guys have said, not a lot of people are thinking more print right now, with everything having to be hand sanitizer and mask up, and I would initially be like, okay, let's go more digital. But the cool thing that I've noticed is there's so many things to the print side where you don't necessarily have to fully engage with it. You know what I mean? Especially when it comes to the mailers. But I also really liked, I can't remember who said it, but where they said your message everywhere.
Kelly.
Yeah, I really, really like that. All of you guys are giving me a lot of good ideas when it comes to how to print talk. So thank you.
Well, I'm so glad because that's exactly what we're
Well
trying to
done.
figure out here. So that makes me very happy. Oh, Christine Erner, I think we heard you. Go ahead.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. And then we'll go to
Welcome.
Matthew.
Thank you. Great conversation. Some of you may not know, I hail in the mail and postal postage world. And Deb, I understand your fear of touching,
Let's not go to fear. I'm just saying that it is a real situation, and it has to be accounted for in the fact that we are in the touch this business. That's all I'm saying.
Absolutely. But Sherry brought up a good point.
I don't want to be canceled because Deborah Corn won't touch print.
No.
Ooh, that's bad news for print media.
To piggyback on what Sherry said about extracting your mail from your mailbox. Are you opening what's in your mailbox? Are you reading the content in your mailbox?
Me?
You think anybody?
Yes, and I found out that they canceled my health insurance, and I was really happy that.
God.
Yeah, well, it was an accident, but the thing is that I never would have opened up that mail had I not been so bored that I was willing to read something that I pay electronically. I was just like, I'll open up anything at this point. And it was a good thing I did. And by the way, now I'm like, no more emails, everything in my mailbox.
Good for you. Good for you. Especially when it comes to that important documentation. Mail is a critical and, as we know, essential business throughout this pandemic. We know volumes are drastically down, which translates to every printer in the country printing less at the moment. But I like to focus on the people that are printing, the people that are mailing. There are opportunities for communicating to your customers in a different way now. As you know, Deb, we've focused on informed delivery and the campaigns that are available, that you now become a digital mail marketing company where you're translating digital information into that printed piece. And I attended a webinar that the National Postal Forum put on yesterday. They could not have their event like every other event in the industry. And the Postal Service focusing on the solutions that exist out there right now, even to the point for those small businesses where they're offering a loyalty program, which is so very cool, that you'll be able to earn more postage savings the more you mail. And the small businesses is where a lot of those businesses need help. And Deb, you've preached that for the last 2 months. What can we all do to help those small businesses?
Right.
And in my business, it's, mailing smarter, getting as much postage savings as you can,
Right.
educating and introducing them to the opportunities from the mail and postal world.
Right. And that's actually a great point, because if you focus on that being your lead message, then touch doesn't really come into play, because it's more about business results. It's more about creating reach and awareness, and it's not about holding the postcard in your hand and smelling it like a beautiful piece of enhanced print on the higher end of the commercial sales here. Matthew, I know you had your hand up before, and I know you have to go soon, so I want to make sure we get to you.
That's okay. It's just I may get a call at some point and then I'll pop out and pop back in.
Okay.
But I wanted to pick up on two things. First of all, we're still talking a little bit sometimes about selling print. And I think the most successful salespeople in print are not selling print, if you see what I mean. So sometimes I think that the people who connect with today's buyers the best are the ones who haven't had a background in print and don't start talking about their presses or about print at all. The other thing I was going to say, I put in the messaging a little bit earlier when we were going on about who are you, what do we do, and how do we get this through. I put in a link. It's to the print version because we're in print. Don't be afraid to handle it. I think after 2 or 3 days, it all goes from paper anyway. We're safe on that. But it is the UK version because, hey, .co.uk.com. And there are English people on this chat. But it's a book called They Ask You Answer. And it's all about thinking, what questions are your prospects likely to be searching for on the web? And I think if we think along those lines and actually start creating our sales stroke marketing approach along those lines, then we move away from the print. Because actually, if you want to engage with, say, the home delivery business, which is now booming, people are going to be looking at how do I package my takeaway or my delivery meals? How do I reach more customers when I'm a takeout restaurant? And if you write enough of those articles and put them on your website or do the videos, although I'm not quite sure how the search works for the videos, you will begin to get noticed by the SEO engines and you will get found. And again, before we've been thinking, what are we selling? Who are we? And we're not in our customers' shoes enough. And it's what are they searching for? So I'd encourage everyone to read that book. I wish I had an Amazon affiliate link because then you'd all make me not very rich, but a little bit richer than I am now. But yeah, no link there. No, but I just think it's a great book. And I think everyone should read it. And then work out how you're going to have a content creation program, because I think that's more key than ever right now. The fact that Ralph has been sending out videos to clients, I think is brilliant.
Yeah.
You know, but how? Yeah, we have to create
Ralph, I'm so
content
proud
in new
of you.
ways and get to people.
Okay, so I want to move the conversation to the next thing, which is, again, this is all about identity, you know, and who you are as a business. Now, before Corona, before any of the current social unrest in the United States, cause marketing has been very topical. Everybody has been saying for at least 2 years, you know, printers should have a cause, whether it's something local on their website in regard to giving back to the world in some manner, that this is really important to millennials. And now, as we've learned from these amazing Gen Zers who, my God, I just want to hug every single one of them. As far as they're not playing with any social anythings, they're not playing with recycling, like they're not going to buy from us, and you know, unless you know we're doing something that they can feel good about. With that being said, with all of the situations in the United States going on with Black Lives Matter and all of that, how is your business communicating what you stand for? Do you think that's something that is important? And have you, you know, spoken to any of your customers about it? Anything that's going on? It's a tough question. Matthew, and then Sherry.
Sorry, I feel like I'm dominating the conversation.
Just be careful, because you're in England. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I know, but hey, that's you all like a cute English accent, surely.
That's true.
So I think that this is going to become more important, because I think that recent events have made people much more socially aware and wanting to do things, and that they will begin to align more with companies that espouse the same values as them. I think that the print industry amongst many sectors has been slow to adopt that. And where we have done it, we've gone, hey, let's do the environment, let's go and hug a tree, which we've been doing pretty badly for many years because we're trying to promote paper. And I think there are lots of opportunities here. And I think some printing companies want to become marketing, MSPs, marketing service providers.
Marketing service providers.
Yeah,
yes.
and if they're going to do that, then they need to show they can be a brand as well. And a brand these days has values that it stands for, And any company should have values that it stands for, and it should be prepared to shout out about them and do something and make donations and support causes. It has to be done right. And some of you know that I really like my craft beer, and there's one brewery up in Manchester, and they've done a big thing about supporting Black Lives Matter, which is great. But the messaging that they've been doing, kind of mixing it up with loads of other things as well, they've got it slightly wrong. And they've got a lot of backlash from people, not because people don't support the Black Lives Matter, but because the messaging has been too confused. So you have to do it right, but I think people should do more of it. And that's a wake-up call for me, because I don't do that, and I should as well.
Thank you, Matthew. Sherry shares? Hashtag Sherry shares?
Hashtag shares. So I think it's a really interesting question, and I do think it's really, really important. And I will tell you that, yeah, those are conversations that with some of our clients we are having. We serve, so for all y'all who don't know me, my world is wide format, and most of what I service is retail. So yeah, I'm having a killer Q2. Yes,
At least
right.
you can laugh.
So it's yeah, I mean, you have to, right? So like but like everybody, like we're just going to make it work, and we're going to focus on the things we can do, and you know, make smart things. But we're talking to our clients, and it's an interesting point, because what I got back from some of our clients is they are very, very much not into someone who is today saying, now I'm into that. If you haven't been saying it for the last 6 months in the last year, and now you're black squaring your Instagram for like a day, and you're putting that little ring around your profile on LinkedIn, if you aren't already part of that message, it comes off as, you know, I'm a sports fan, so like it's like you're a bandwagon fan, and so it discounts the message. So what I would say is be really smart in the way you're going about it. So if you've decided that today's your day where you are going to pivot, and like you didn't talk about it before and you weren't supporting those things, like for us, we've always been really big on like pride. Like that has always been our support system. Like we have a thing, we've always been about it. We've always been about, like, you know, we've always been about women. I always mix all the letters up, and I do my best. LBGTQ plus. That's always been our thing. So like we still do that because that has been our thing. And so now to add into it a different level of diversity, yeah, we're doing it, but not at the expense of what we've always supported. Right. One of my customers, what he said to me is, if you're going to do it today and you're going to bring it and you're going to introduce it now, tell everyone why. Hey, I'm doing this today because this happened and it shook us as an organization. And so it isn't that we didn't support it all along the way. It's just today was our wake up call. Don't just go out and change it without telling people why you are changing it.
That's great advice. The only thing I just want to add to that, because I don't want what you said in the beginning to be a deterrent. So you are allowed to today wake up and say, oh my God, even though I'm not a racist, I have benefited my entire life from a racist system, and I didn't realize it till today. And now I want to do something about it. The thing is that you can't just say you're going to do something about it. You actually have to do something about it. And I think that is what people are more looking for. Are you just jumping in, being a bandwagon? Well, I'd rather, you know, be on the good side of this, even though I'm not going to maybe not do anything about it. But that's the thing. The Gen Zers, the millennials, people like me, the Girls Who Print group, we are watching the companies now that are making claims that they're going to be fair to women and fair to people of color and fair to speakers at events and fair to who gets coverage in trade publications and quoted in articles. I mean, we're going to do something about it. Otherwise, we're hypocrites. And I think that is where, you know, what is really being watched. Now, to your point, when Suchi was here, she spoke about Nike in this situation. And she said, they have been on Black Lives Matters for years. So anything they do now is 1,000% authentic. And everybody's going back now saying, oh, sorry, we were mean to you, Nike. You were right the whole time, you know, with Colin, I'm sorry, I never am good at pronouncing his last name. And their sales went up 23%, by the way, when they supported him. But the whole point is that they've never stopped. So to your point, Sherry, you can't start it and stop it. By the way, you can't support animals and then stop it. I mean, you know, like puppies, this has been going on for a long time. I'm not equating humans and puppies, but I'm saying it could have been cancer. It could have been a local a charity for a food bank. If you have that logo, if you have that, we give proceeds to any cause, you had better be freaking doing it, putting your money where your mouth is. Aleka, did you want to say something? No? Anybody else? I'm sorry.
So I do just want to say one thing.
Sarah.
There's LinkedIn has been traditionally and historically pretty non-political, but we are seeing more kind of dust ups, I think, here and there on commenting. And it's just, I think it is, I'm sure everyone knows this, but as Deb was mentioning, like, people are watching. If you say something like those fake news liars at CNN, like, some people might write your name down and say, like, why, you know, and this applies to everything, right? But like, I just noticed some things I've stumbled upon on Twitter where I was like, oh my gosh, like, I did not know that about that person. And I gotta be honest, it changed my mind about, you know, like, wow, I didn't. So realize that to your point about Gen Zers and even old people like me can figure out the dotted line between you and your company,
Yeah,
and you, your person, and then go, where does this guy work? And then be like, okay, well,
right.
just be aware of it. It's
100%. I mean, Kelly and I have been, you know, sometimes we'll see something and then we'll like, well, let's look at their personal social media. And that's where we get everybody. That's where we find how everybody's really feeling about things, regardless of what they're saying in a chat room. I'm like, I don't know, something about that didn't make sense to me. And we go look and we're like, okay, here's the last 13 years of horror here. And now all of a sudden that's not a good thing to do. So it's been deleted or removed, but you can't delete everything on social media. And so it becomes really important. Matthew, and then we'll go to some other people. Go ahead.
I think we should make a difference. So we've talked about politics and causes here, and I think we should make a difference between the two.
I would say I don't know if we're talking about politics, but okay.
There's been a couple of mentions of politics in the chat and on here, and so my two rules when I'm in business are never do politics, never do religion. Everyone's got very strong views on those, and that's fine. And I once wrote an email saying why people should use social media and saying whether you support him or not. Obama had a very successful campaign because he used Twitter. And I got a huge amount of unsubscribes immediately from my newsletters with people going, you used the O word and how dare you do that and things like that. So I learned my lesson that way. I think there's a big difference though. I think we should all have causes that we stand for. And I'm quite happy to differ politically from people and work with them, but causes are really important to stand for and have ethics that you stand for. And I do realize that there can be a crossover there sometimes as well, but I think it's just important to kind of realize those.
I'm just going to mention one crossover that printers might want to keep in mind, whether they decide to say something, not say something, participate or not participate. Do not think for 1 second the brands and the advertising agencies aren't investigating every vendor that they're working with right now. I know that they are. And they're looking at your social media and they're looking to see what you're saying about this. And they're looking to see if there were black squares, and they're not putting their money anywhere that can be traced back to an ill-appropriate comment on a tweet. So people can, and Matthew, again, you're not in America, and that distance does remove you a little from the perspective. It's not a political thing. This is a social culture injustice, social thing. It has been politicized, but the true nature of the problem is not a political problem. It's a social problem that can be solved through political means, which is how it got entangled. But I there are plenty of people who support one candidate over another that are on the same side of this issue. So I just want to make that clear that this has become something a little higher, I believe. I don't want to speak
I
for...
think it has everywhere, and that's why I said have causes that you believe in, not politics. And I think that's the difference. So as long as you have those causes and stand for them authentically, as Sherry said, because I think
Right.
that's, I think, exactly what you said, Sherry, was spot on. Then I think you're good. But do much personal social media. I've found people. So there's one person I was thinking, oh, they'll make a great client for me. Someone just started off in printing. Committed salesperson, went onto their social media. Not only did they spend a lot of their time lap dancing, which isn't really my kind of thing.
Oh,
This is
lovely.
being a lap dancer. But yeah, some of their political views, or not their political views, some of the things they were saying on their personal social media were just so against what I stand for that there's no way I'd have worked with them.
Oh yeah, Kelly and I found someone who won an industry award who probably should not have won an industry award if anyone had looked at their personal social media. It was not a good situation. Okay, so I want to move to the next section of this conversation, and I'm actually going to share my screen again for a moment. And I think I'm sharing my screen. Okay, I want to talk about marketing, move this section to marketing and sales. And again, I'm just going to put some questions out there, and then we'll have an open discussion about it. So when it comes to marketing and sales, how are you found? What can I learn when I find you? What can I do when I find you? And I'll frame that a little. Can I watch a video? Can I order print? Can I contact you? What can I do when I find you? And how can I connect with you? What can I expect from our relationship? So those are just some broad questions that fall back into identity that are really important to kind of ponder, because most contact right now is being made when you are not there. And I should be able to have answers to all those questions. And hopefully the answer to those questions is in nothing, because you've left me a dead end. So let's frame this around websites, printer websites, and in the time of everybody searching online. Shiloh, you're quiet. You want to join the conversation?
A little quiet. One of the EVPs just sent me over something important.
Oh, so sorry.
Just working on that right now. Sorry.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry, but yay, Billy Idol back there, I see. Okay, who's got websites? Nobody? Matthew, Parker?
Okay, I have a website. So, okay, for me, it's not just websites. If you're a printer and you have a website and it's got a picture of a printing press, I groan hugely. If you tell me you've got good service and quality, I get quite angry. If you start talking to me about printing and you've got pictures of CMYK, I start swearing, and it's probably best that my daughter isn't in the same room. So please, just so my daughter is brought up nicely, if you have any of those on your website, get rid of them now. Where can you find me? You can find me everywhere, I think. Websites, social media, podcasts, thanks to Deborah, videos, live events when we had those things, if anyone remembers those. You can find me anywhere. What can you expect from me? Great information that you might find useful, with some calls to action on how to take things further if you want to, without any pressure to do that. How can you interact with me after that? I mean, you can watch the video, you can listen to the podcast, you can read the blog article, you can connect with me please connect with me on LinkedIn, by the way. You can do all those things. At the end of it, I don't tend to sell. Now, I'm slightly different from a printer because I don't have a press to fill, but I find enough people reaching out to me going, can we work together, that I don't have to work very hard on sales at that point, because I tend to have enough people making contact with me going, hey, can we work together?
So they
If
go to your website,
printers,
it's comprehensive enough that they could do all those things, which is what's the point, is the
yes,
point here. There's no
but
dead
actually,
ends. I can
no,
interact with you in a myriad of ways. You give me directions to a myriad of ways to work with
yeah.
you, to contact you, connect with you, get free
But
content, download premium content, whatever it might be.
more importantly, I don't expect people to find my website particularly. I need to direct them there. So I hang out where my prospects do. And sometimes I think printers don't do enough of that. Yeah, you look on LinkedIn and they're all over all the print forums, but they're not really in any of the groups or forums where their customers are hanging out. So it's a case of hanging out where your customers are. And as long as you talk about them and their issues rather than print, then you've probably got a good chance of people picking up the phone wanting to talk to you. And hey, suddenly it's not all about price either. I said I could talk for hours about this, so I'm going to shut up now.
So everybody has social media links on their website. Everybody has links to, videos and things like that, I'm assuming. I mean, I go to plenty of printers' websites who are on social media, but is no way for me to connect with them on their website. They don't have the little icons, or worse, they have them, but their web programmer has never actually programmed them to link out to the site. So they just refreshes the page, or it goes to my Twitter account. It's very frustrating, by the way, when I'm looking for social media accounts. So where does everybody stand with, have you looked at your website over the past 3 months? There's, to Matthew's point, a search is not just a way to find a phone call now. It's about people doing as much research as they possibly can before they make that phone call. Have you addressed it since COVID started, anybody? Sherry?
Also feel, Matthew, that I just keep talking. Like, I keep just, it's just you and me, really. I'm so sorry. Other people, join in. Come on, let's hear what you guys say. Yes, I mean, like, so we're working with a web developer. We're blowing our entire website up and completely redoing it for 2 reasons. One, our current website is built strictly for retailers because that's who we serviced. And this was a shocking wake of like, hey, that's probably not great diversification. In theory, you're like, oh, I diversify because I deal with men's and women's and department stores and beauty, and it seems very diversified on the surface until you step back from it and you're like, oh crap, they're still all retailers. Well, that's probably not the smartest thing we ever did for the last 22 years. Okay, let's pivot. So we're literally going to take our website right now, which I'll put in the chat if anybody wants to check it out as it stands now. And in 90 days, we're going to have a completely different website that when you come into it, it's going to say choose your own adventure, and you're going to pick what you do. So whether you're a B2C, whether you're a restaurant, it doesn't matter what you are, we're going to show you how what we do can be used in your setting, because people are going there, and while they can use our product, they can't visualize it, right? They go and they're like, they're a bank, but I'm showing all these beautiful window displays from 100 years ago. Let's have it, Kelly.
If you didn't listen to Lily Harder's presentation last Friday on Fierce Fabulous Fridays, it is 1 hour of your life. You will never be sorry that you invested. My takeaway, I mean, I had a million takeaways from that, but return on involvement. This is the new metric, I feel like, is that you have to be there, as Matthew said, be where your customers are and talk to them and engage with them. And Deborah Corn taught me one of the most important lessons I've learned in probably the last 5 years, which is your mission is to educate, not edu-sell. And this is genius. These 2 things exist to do nothing but educate your customers and invest your time in the involvement. Yes, it might be difficult to quantify in the near term, but over the long term, this is worth your time to do. And you make friends and you meet great people. Like, I can't wait to meet Sherry and have her like show me these bourbon drinks and stuff like this. Like, I've made friends like Jean Lloyd. I have a friend in South Africa now.
Yay. Yeah.
Brianna Casso. I cannot wait to see this kid in real life. But you get what you give. You invest your time because it's the right thing to do.
So something that could be going back to what Matthew said in the beginning, and this being about identity, and a phone call hi, I want to talk to you about your printing needs, or hi, I want to talk to you about some print applications, is probably not a conversation anybody wants to have right now. Professional print buyers know how to get in touch with you if they have things to print, and regular people don't know what they need because they're regular people. They don't know what's called a window cling or a floor graphic. They don't even know what to search for on the internet. So my suggestion in all of this, as we was always that printers should start thinking more of themselves as currently in the crisis management business. And if you look at every potential prospect out there as having a crisis, what is your solution to help their crisis? And part of the crisis now at this point with the constant fluctuation of being open, being closed, what people are willing to do, what they're not willing to do. Businesses, especially those retail stores, are even in more trouble. And I think that business owners would be way more open to a conversation about, I want to have a strategic business planning discussion with you about what you need to happen to stay in business in 2021. How do we help you now to get you in that position for next year that you're still here? And so it's not about you selling them print. It's about you understanding what they need. And that could be, we need at least 300 people ordering dinner every week on our online system, or we cannot stay in business. Fantastic. Let me come back. Don't bring suggestions to this meeting. Come back with a formulated plan. So they think you, as you should, you met with your team, you met with outside partners. You might go back and say, look, we've looked at your specific business, your specific restaurant. You have a lot of people on Facebook. We think the best use for us right now is to help you get more people on Facebook, and then help you develop that page for the interim. Now, that's not a thing a printer does, which is going back to who are we, But if you want that print component in the mix, I really think that and Matthew and I have been talking about this for a while on our Print Buying UK versus USA podcast, that the business results is what is going to drive. And what I'm referring to is data for decisions. So if you're going to say to a restaurant, we can help you get those people online, but you're going to do that citing some stat from 2019 about how people like to, how many people order online every week or every month, then that is some bullshit conversation that you cannot have with somebody. You have to be relevant, and the only way to be relevant is to literally ask them, what do they need to happen, and then figure out how you can be part of that solution. There's a lot of people still approaching, we want to talk to you about, what you need. And that makes a lot of people go like this. What do I need? What I need is for salespeople to be out of my face, and I need to get people in this restaurant. Like, they're not making the correlation that maybe you can help if you lead with, we sell print, I'm a printer. And that's kind of how we started this whole conversation about the identity crisis. Anybody want to make comments about that?
I think what Matthew said earlier about being a marketing.
Sorry, Jean.
I think, Matthew spoke earlier about being a marketing service provider, and for years and years it was print service provider, and we started talking marketing service provider. But I think right now it's more relevant than any other time, where you have to think out the box and think of different ideas with your customer. And if that means partnering with a third party marketeer or somebody that can think out the box, but it's those printers that are going to get creative right now that are going to achieve. So for me, MSP, it's just never been more necessary than what it is now. And it's really out the box thinking. And I think, like you've been saying, you've got to create almost the opportunities for them and hold their hand in the process. And those are the guys
1000%.
that are making it, you know?
Hold their hand, create the damn files, create the copy, take the photos. They cannot do anything. They're in a crisis. Aleka, and then Ralph, I think, wants to say something. Go
Okay,
ahead.
so you can't do business as usual. You can't go in with a pre-rehearsed self pitch. You have to be empathetic. You have to be human. You have to be relationship minded and really get to know their business and their concerns and their worries. And then they're going to trust you. And that is the key word. When they trust you and they get you, you're on their side. You're their ally. You're their person. You're their resource. You're not your print salesperson.
Right.
You're Aleka, who I talked to about what's blowing off my steam. You know, what's going on today, what I'm worried about. She can listen. She can find a solution. If she doesn't have the answer right away, she can go back and
Exactly.
and direct me. So
Yeah.
that is where we all have to realign ourselves and be.
Totally. Ralph?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, is what I get concerned about right now is being able to get the data that we need. You know, there's more people home than ever before, and we can get a printed message to them. And we believe that it's viewed more than it ever has been. But qualifying those statistically to help encourage it is hard data to get, because the information for the restaurant is going to be different than the information from the retail store. And, you know, with that restaurant, I would probably talk to them about, you know, encouraging people to come back and offers that they could offer that would encourage that, and then doing some testing specifically to their location, and then analyzing the data on the back end. And then you can go, now I have restaurant data.
Right.
But it's hard to get data specifically to every single category, and one restaurant could be different than another. So it's hard to promise, but I can tell you that we can do a small run and then a larger run and some tests, and we can get you the data.
Right. I would just make a suggestion, Ralph, that you just hook up with Christine Erna after this webinar. She has, the post office has the data that you probably want, and she has connections into that as well. We talk about informed delivery a lot, which is free for people to sign up to, and that literally provides you data right there as far as who's opened emails. I hear what you're saying as far as big campaigns and blowing out things, but there is certainly enough minimal data from the post office now about the effectiveness of direct mail in this very unique moment in time that is really pretty significant. I don't know, Christine, just please hook up with Ralph. I think
Thank
Matthew
you.
wanted to say something, and then I do have another meeting, so we're going to end this conversation. Matthew?
So I think Aleka made a great point about the trust. But these days, you cannot go in and have time to build that trust. You have to have that trust before you start any conversation that's due to lead to sales. And that's how, you know, for me, I build that trust with prospects through my content marketing, and then they trust me to have that conversation. Often they'll approach me, but I can have that conversation then. If I went in cold, I would have a hell of a job trying to get successful sales, because I wouldn't have that trust there.
I agree. Anybody else? Kelly, want to make a final comment?
No, I just wanted to say I looked
Sherry
back
does.
on I looked back on Lily's, and it was Mail Moments. Apparently, is a regular newsletter that comes out that she used a lot of the stats from the presentation last week. I put it in the chat.
Like I said, though, Christine has some friends in the post office, so literally, like every week we see new stats. Just saying, we've got some connections, and the post office likes to share them with us. Go ahead, Sherry.
All right. So the thing that I think Aleka said, and I kind of wrote down, so this is something I say all the time to everyone on my team, and not because of COVID, because this is the way we take care of our customers. Stop pitching, start pitching in. Like, it is my number one mantra. Stop pitching people. Although you were in sales, you were in service. Stop pitching and start pitching in. So I would say, like just hearing that, like that's a good mantra. I keep it on my desk all the time. So just wanted to throw that out there.
Well, that's a good one. And that goes back to what do you need to be here in 2021? And let's come up with a strategic marketing plan as affordable as possible. This is not where you make your money. This is where you make your relationship that will never be broken. Once you establish that trust, once you help them get any customers back into the restaurant, ordering online, whatever it might be, you will own them for the rest of your life. These are regular people who are just like, I've got to do something. This is going to seem crazy, but my sister-in-law owns a speaker repair store. And she actually called me the other day and said, I'm begging you, help us. We don't care what it is, just help us get some people in ordering from us. And that is a powerful moment if you understand that that's really where printers are sitting right now. It's just that the people on the other end who are in that crisis don't realize that you are actually the ones that can help them, because either it's the same damn person who's been sending them useless emails for the last 2 years, who is still contacting them with the same useless language that has not been updated for the current situation that we're in, going back to the identity crisis, talking about, I want to talk to you about what you need to print next month. It's like, sometimes we're our own worst enemies. And I think that if we did a little more of the let's become strategic marketing planners, not strategic planners, but focusing more on the strategy of keeping your business open, potentially through solutions I have in my business. And by the way, no matter what they ask for, you can do it. Just say yes. If you can't find a resource, call me. I will find you a damn resource. Yes, Charlotte.
This is I've kind of been kicking this thing around for a week or two, even longer, hearing the Zoom calls with Kelly, Joe, and this one here. On the chat, I wrote in there, who here is a printer?
Yeah.
Some people saw it, some people responded. Then I asked, what does a printer need? Okay, got a couple of answers and so forth. Again, this was supposed to be like a joke. You're not a printer. A printer needs a cartridge. A printer needs a power source. You don't narrow down being called a printer. You're a resource. You're a creative provider. You're a place to go to for answers and directions. Believe me, you're not a printer. I make cartridges all day, all night. Be something different.
Yeah, when the whole MSP thing came out and everyone's like, we're a marketing services provider, I'm like, no, you're not. That's what an advertising agency does. You're a marketing solutions provider, because I have a marketing need. Now I need a solution on how to get it out in the world, and you're the person I can call for that. So that's something to think about. I'm sorry that we're going to have to cut the conversation off. We went a little over, but I really appreciate it. We can continue the conversation. We can even revisit this in a month or so and see if anyone has, made any significant changes. Hopefully you all got something out of this that to address. I'm begging you all to check your websites and look for intense languages about touching and smelling and feeling, and maybe consider toning that down for the time being, and thinking about how you might want to address cause marketing and social causing and social causes, and positioning yourself. If you're asked, by the way, has anyone even considered that? What would happen if your sales team would asked, where does your company stand on Black Lives Matter? This is a PR thing, as well as a customer relationship thing, as well as a community relationship thing. So it's not really something that can just be skipped over unless you're willing to potentially lose a brand or an advertising agency as a customer. They are not playing with this. I'm really trying to set the groundwork and let everybody know I am in touch with them. I'm part of the Advertising Production Club of New York. I'm on the board. I talk to the buyers. I know what they're focusing on. I know what they're looking at. I know that they're researching the vendors that they work with. You do not want to be on the other end of, I'm really sorry, but this giant brand who's just been spending $120 million a year on print is no longer printing with you. Thank everybody very much for their time. Really appreciate it. And, you know, we do this every Friday, even though it's under the Girls Who Print banner. It's just who is producing these webinars. Everybody is welcome. The replays from past events that we've mentioned throughout this webinar are at girlswhoprint.net. They're also on the Print Media Center YouTube channel. We are always looking for topics that people are interested in talking about. Please get in touch and please share this opportunity to meet. This has been a little different that we're having a conversation. Usually we have a speaker, a presentation, and end a conversation, but this week was a little different. So thanks so much and hope to see everybody again real soon. Have a
Thanks,
great
Deb. Great weekend, everyone.
Thank you, Christine. Hook up with Ralph.
Thank you.
I
Great
will.
Hook up with
conversation.
Christine. Okay.
Have a lovely weekend, everyone.
Have a great weekend.
Cheers. Thank you, Matthew, for coming.